And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to call on stage for the next presentation, Mr. Srinivasa Bharathy, Managing Director and CEO of Adrenalin eSystems. Can we have a big round of applause to Mr. Srinivasa Bharathy? The topic of the discussion is Reimagine Talent, Redesign Your Future. All over to you, sir.
Okay. Good morning, all. Am I audible? Okay, great. Namaskar, namaste, vanakkam. So this was interesting when this topic came up. I prefer walking a bit to cover some of my 10,000 steps. So RRR was an interesting topic, and what do we actually kind of associate RRR with? Yeah? The movie, isn't it? The RRR movie came up, and I think interestingly the organizers thought RRR could be a thing for the Summit and Awards. Now what's the connection? What's the connection? RRR also won a lot of awards, isn't it? So I think we'll see a lot of heroes of the RRR movie in the evening today at the Summit and Awards. But then we thought we'll take a very refreshing take, another R, on RRR. And I thought I'll kind of give you a feel of what goes behind our own thought processes in a typical HR tech organization that's been there in business for more than 25 years now. And as a pioneer in the HR space in India, I was actually writing down when I think somebody was speaking in the panel, it was possibly the first made in India, made for India company, long ago. And good to see some of our customers who are here. And we have gone through this journey. I think somebody talked about started off with system of records, and then the system of records became system of transactions, and that became system of experiences that we talk about nowadays. I think what we are moving towards is system of intelligence, and that's how I think we are seeing the whole journey of HR tech moving along. So I thought let me add a humorous part to this and maybe give a connection. I think some of you got it. And RRR, why? Because this was a reimagination of a typical plot. It's not a great new plot in that sense. There was a lot of reimagination of how they thought about this movie. They redesigned this to actually look at the script, and they redesigned it to a way that actually appealed to global audiences, I think for the first time. And that actually made them realize value, isn't it? So if you look at the numbers, of course the numbers are obviously great. One of the first movies to have grossed 1,200 crores, 58 awards. So it's very interesting to see how RRR could be a topic that we will look at today, and how we will reimagine, redesign, and realize value. So I'm going to take us through these three phases of our thought process and see how we will actually end up. So what are we going to reimagine? We are actually going to reimagine the way talent is managed. I think I saw some of the panel members very refreshingly talk about how they have reimagined their own workspaces. But then why should we be reimagining? What is the need for us to do it? And how many of us are here HR leaders? Any IT leaders too here? No one. Okay, so it's a pure HR play. Great. So why should we be reimagining this? This is where the connection between what talent management is and what business outcomes are needs to be linked. We need to reimagine because each organization goes through certain phases, right? Now, each organization in the size and the business opportunity they actually go through these phases of growth, survival, building for tomorrow, which is capability building, and to ensure that the talent is engaged always. So if you look at this, what determines the strategy of managing talent is determined by how and where your business is at that point in time. So if there are 4 examples I've given here, which says if growth is your top priority, then obviously you look at acquisition of talent as your primary focus. If you're on survival mode, which means you're on BAU, business as usual kind of an organization, then operations and optimization of operations actually become that much more important, isn't it? If you're building for tomorrow, if you see how the startups today are, working for building their organization for tomorrow, then looking at talent development, building talent capability in order to actually achieve competitive edge becomes the key, right? And of course, all of us face this crisis, which is retention in this current scenario. So if retention is your crisis, then creating a sense of belonging becomes important. And how do I actually achieve that becomes an important part of how we need to reimagine talent in the new world. How has it evolved? I think we saw Sanjay presenting a few of this, and this is a theme that we have noticed across thousands of customer organizations that we work with. And one of the key things that we continue to do every quarter is to actually kind of step back and see where is this going. So what is the need of the hour, and hence why is it that we need to reimagine talent itself? Is obviously multi-generation workforce that we saw. I think it's the first time possibly we are seeing 4 or 5 generations of workforce demanding attention, and the HR's HR leaders function becomes that much more complex in trying to handle the needs and the requirements of different types of people, right? And each of them have their own view about career pathways, right? If in our generation, I think at least the generation previous to mine, being loyal and being in a company for 30 years was the norm, and that was the expectation, and that's entirely inverted today, isn't it? And I know earlier screenings in HR used to look at how many jumps has this person done over a period of time, and today that's inverted as saying, oh, he's got actually varied experiences, isn't it? So I think that's a shift in the way we look at how we look at talent. I would like to focus, of course, I think the elephant in the room is always AI nowadays, but how do we harmonize AI within the context of the organization itself? Because organization has its boundaries. And I think as one of the panel members rightly said, it's not open, kind of a environment for you. There are requirements for compliance, there are governance requirements, and certain policies that you would want to actually kind of safeguard within your organization when you're building a culture that's unique to the organization, right? So how do I actually enable all this while ensuring that I harmonize AI is going to be a key question. And I think that's how the world of talent is evolving. Now, if we look at all this and say, what is it that we are not? So we are saying, okay, this is what is happening. We also have to think of what is it that we are not. I think we are no longer in the age of HR ops. Do we agree? HR ops is it's taken for granted, it's standard. Then what are we? What is happening today? I think we think in Adrenalin that this is the age of talent orchestration. What does talent orchestration mean? Just like an orchestra, you actually compose and manage multiple parts of the music. We need to actually look at how do we manage multiple parts of talent that brings me the best outcome at this point in time. And that point in time could be the phase of the organization that we see, right? And it's not about, okay, I've decided that acquisition is my biggest thing and I focus on acquisition, that is not going to be a long-term solution anyway. That's going to be a phase. And then you actually start looking at other things that are needed to be done. So at different points in time, you need to orchestrate what is happening across the talent spectrum. And that is going to be the future, right? And that we think is the way forward. And I think we chose this image purposely because you need to also orchestrate between the human workforce and the digital workforce, right? And that's something that we are also very keen, and we've been at the forefront of doing. So when we look at what is it that we are reimagining the way talent needs to be managed within organizations. And that's the first step, right? By the way, we are huge design thinking fads in our organization and our group. And we have something called a School of Design Thinking. And everything that we do, everything that we actually kind of build goes through the design thinking principles. And some of those principles are, like Bala was saying in the panel, is about empathy. Empathy is to actually be in the shoes of your customer, whether the customer is a business customer, or in the case of a HR, the employee who's the customer, and knowing his or her needs and wants are important as we redesign things. When we look at design, we actually talk about empathy as the first step. So when we are reimagining talent and we are saying, okay, this is what the scenario is, how do we build that, use that rather, to redesign the way we actually run our HR processes? And that's the next step. The next step is, okay, we're saying we need to redesign. What is to be redesigned? What should we be doing about it? So I've put in some points, of course, it's a bit, dense slide. But essentially, there are two things that we are looking at. One, currently, I think we need to think beyond human when we are redesigning systems. We need to be actually able to use AI to transform, not just react to it. So I think be the leader while redesigning the process and use insights effectively for realizing outcomes. So I think that is an important step when we redesign. And while we redesign this, we actually came up with what is an easier way to look at redesigning. And we came up with this acronym called ADORE. And we said, if you want to build an adorable company, people talk about adorable brand, adorable company, adorable HR. How many employees adore their HR? Very few. But then can we actually look at ADORE? And it kind of sat well when we looked at this. And we said, can we actually look at these 5 focus areas and redesign ourselves and redesign the processes in our organization, in a typical HR organization. So it's about talent acquisition, talent development, talent operations, which is to be optimized, of course, talent remuneration, again, certainly a big space, and engagement. So when we look at these 5 and look at, okay, can I redesign my process around these 5, we found that was actually kind of resonating with a lot of CHROs. And very quickly, the CHRO is not alone in this decision today, right? With technology actually kind of permeating every single part of the organization, there needs to be a win-win between the CHRO and the CIO, right? How many CHROs today can take an independent decision in the organization without the involvement of the CIO in implementing a HR tech solution? No one, correct? So we need the collaboration between the CHRO and the CIO, and both of them need to see a win-win in whatever solution is being brought in. And hence, if you look at the 5 steps of ADORE, we're saying acquisition, development, which is I think standard, which is your typical performance. But then there's an interesting part in development. With the advent of AI, and actually the ability to now process a lot of things, autonomously in a way. I would think the CHRO's time is going to get freed for talent development more and more. And that's, I think, going to be a good thing in a way, right? And operations, of course, is going to be optimizing of operations using whatever processes that AI can offer. I'll come to something unique later, and that's, I think, the future that we are contemplating. Remuneration, of course, this is not going to go away. All of us need to, get compensated. So I think compensation as a word is moving away, and remuneration is what we are talking about. Engagement is again one more thing. I think somebody mentioned about Adrenalin's social connect, and it was forced on employees, and in a way, sometimes we saw that happening in our own when we introduced social. So that actually made us also redesign Max Social in a different way. And the new one that's kind of released recently, we're calling it Pulse, has a view of how social communities are built outside organizations and use that to actually then build it inside an organization. So that provides a lot of engagement in the long run, and creating a culture of recognition and appreciation brings that together for us in evolving for the future. So how does it all fit together is what we have been redesigning ourselves. And if you look at how we have looked at kind of blending the layers, various layers that are needed from a HR tech perspective, we looked at Adore. Of course, you see the red ones on top, which is acquisition, development, operations, remuneration, and engagement. But then there's also something that's new that's added. That's the boundary. That's called the purple boundary that you see, and that's the AI intelligence layer that's kind of started wrapping around the application itself. And that is something very unique, and I think possibly the first HR tech company to build something like this using a platform called Purple Fabric, which is our group offering. Some of you may have heard of it. Some of you in the banking sector may have already heard of it. Anybody has heard of Purple Fabric yet? Which is the first open business impact AI platform launched by Intellect, who's our parent company. And that is the base on which we have built our talent GPT. As you see, there's something there, which is called Navi. Navi is short form for navigation, and it's your provider of digital workforce. And I think I'll possibly explain that a bit in the next few minutes that I have. But what is important is also something that you see as A-team. Now, what does that provide, and why is that needed? Is while you have the central piece, which is I think fairly well known to most CHROs, the pieces behind and the below, which are the A-team and the Purple Fabric platform, actually provides us the futuristic edge. And that's when we think people will start realizing value. So one of the things that we said that HR tech needs to have when we redesign our way of thinking is to also personify some of these platform elements. So as HR function, HR people, sometimes we don't understand what these technical guys talk, right? I mean, I'm including myself here, right? So we said, why don't we personify these? And very interestingly, in fact, when I was presenting this to a Gartner analyst recently, he said no one has thought about it this way, and nobody has redesigned a platform in a way that it's personified for domain people, for HR functions to understand and implement easily. So you need all of this anyway. Most solutions may even have it in a different form or function, but the way that the experience of providing it to a user is how we have changed the redesigning of the platform itself. And all these 5 characters, in fact, we are adding one more character very soon, and she'll be also a part of the A team, which is, what Bala and team are working on. But then that's the way we look at how redesigning can help change the way HR systems are implemented in organizations. But all of this is of no use really if we don't know how to realize value out of them, isn't it? How do I realize value out of these things? Now the first thing we did is, okay, we need to be sure that we cover the entire canvas, from that you saw from acquisition, to engagement. But also, how do I actually ensure that as a large organization, I can derive value from this? And that is, exactly how we said there needs to be a single source of truth across the enterprise. And that's an important part of how we will realize value. So unless you have a way of actually gathering all of these into a place, and I think we talk about data. Somebody in the panel actually talked about data and looking at data-driven decisions, etc. That in the AI world is moving towards knowledge. And data, when you actually convert data and bring that into information, you actually massage data, change it into information that is useful. And that's how the BI tools had come out, right? Business intelligence tools that were using information. And what's the next step? The next step is, how do I convert this information into knowledge? And today's AI platforms actually work on knowledge. If you know what they are, they're knowledge bases. And we actually have done that using our platform. That's the way we are looking at things going. So data became information, information has become knowledge. Now, sitting on top of this knowledge base, we call it knowledge garden, by the way. That's the important take that we have taken. The knowledge garden, we call it the talent knowledge garden, because if it's a garden, then you tend to nourish it, right? You will actually grow the right plants or the right things that you need for your garden, and not just aggregate data for data's sake, right? So we curate what is to be converted to knowledge and create what is called as a talent knowledge garden. And when you look at that and then you apply AI on top of this knowledge garden, you start realizing value. And that's when you actually say, can I now, one is, of course, I've done a single source of truth. I've converted all my data into information, now into knowledge, and created a knowledge garden. And can I actually now derive insights using this knowledge garden for realizing value, right? And that's essentially how we have looked at it. What Navi is, I think I'll rush through. It is not a bot. Bot is certainly, has been there with us, I think, for more than 10 years. More about conversations. We are all used to now conversations with our, LLMs. And sometimes there is also a confusion that LLMs are the only thing that, are part of AI, isn't it? We have started equating LLMs to AI. LLMs are one subset of what AI is, as an AI, as an umbrella is, right? But that's become the most popular one because it uses language for interaction and has evolved from the NLP, field. So what is the future and how is it that we'll realize value? Is when a digi workforce starts actually being a part of the organization. So for example, we have actually added all these fellows now. In a way, these are all, Bala and Bharati and, Kumar and Vikas and whoever, whatever names you may call them. We are calling them something else now. But they are the digital names of agents who are available as a part of your workforce. And that will start augmenting real humans. So I would have a real Vikas and a digital Vikas or whatever, right? And all of them together will create value. And that's where we think the world is headed. We did one use case. I will show this here, use case that I don't know if it's in the bottom, so possibly people at the back may not be able to read. One of the use cases which was used in talent remuneration, if you see below, we did it the last 3-4 months. We've actually been gathering data, using it, and we saw huge 91% saving on payroll processing costs with 100% accuracy, and a processing that did it in 20 seconds per employee compared to whatever minutes it was taking earlier. And a different take that happened between us and our customer. Almost 30 employees had to be redeployed because they were not needed. And this was part of what we did in the talent remuneration area. And we actually kind of run these agents and kind of collected data over a period of time. In the last, I think, 4 or 5 months it must be. But that's where we see the future coming, where certain areas, like you see on the top, you'll see autonomous bots may take up. Certain areas you'll find intelligent co-pilots or assistants. And in certain areas you'll see conversational agents taking over, right? And that, I think I was on time. So that brings us to what the overall realization of value is from the perspective of Adrenalin. And we think a combination of application suite with a great robust platform that provides organizational context and an intelligence layer that's built on top provides a comprehensive way of managing talent in the future organization. Thank you.
Request you to kindly be on the stage. And ladies and gentlemen, can we have a big round of applause once again for Mr. Srinivasa Bharathy, Managing Director and CEO of Adrenalin eSystems. And what a fantastic presentation we had on the topic of Reimagine Talent, Redesign Your Future. Now, I would like to call on stage Mr. Saurav Kumar Sinha, General Manager for Human Resources from LivePure. Saurav ji, if you could kindly come on stage to felicitate Srinivasa sir, please.
Hey.
Big round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Srinivasa Bharathy from Adrenalin eSystems on that fantastic presentation we just had.